We'll never see it again. It's gone. Now, at that stage, the government has got a whole handful of money. Where do they get their money from? The guys that bought the assets. So what do they do with the money? They pay back the IMF from their loans from 1961. Where does that leave Australia? It leaves them with no money and no assets. So what do you do next? You call in investors. And if your investors don't come, your country goes down the tube. And so you call investors. Where do they come from? Now, if you're taking notes, write this down, please. The world has been divided into three groups, three areas. Number one, listen carefully to what I'm saying now. I'm speaking to you on the 15th of May in the year 2002. The world has been divided officially into three groups, ready for the final world government when they bring it all together. And here it is. Number one group, Europe, with their own standing army and their own currency, the euro dollar, affecting the lives of 300 million people at this stage. I was in Cairo last year. As I drove through Cairo, I saw these big black limousines. I said, what's happening here? They said, Egypt is going to adopt the euro also. Many countries in Africa will adopt the euro because every country in the world must be connected to one of these three groups. Group number two is the Americas, from the tip of Alaska in the north to the tip of South America in the south, and they will all be adopting the American dollar, getting rid of their own national currencies. The first country to give up their money was Guatemala. They are now using the American dollar, and Argentina, which is bankrupt, is now going the same way. They will be using the American dollar shortly. In fact, right through there, they'll get rid of all their currencies, and they'll have their own standing army and the American dollar. Region number three, to which we belong, everybody listen, we are called APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, and we now belong to Asia. Asia, Australia, and New Zealand are one region, and we will have our own standing army and our own currency shortly. I doubt very much whether it'll be a dollar. It'll probably be a yuan or a yen, an Asian currency, because we are small fish in a very big pond. And that is why you see many Asian folk coming here, because this is the region they belong to now. Get the idea, please? So that being the case, everybody, although it looks like a strange sort of a setup, it's quite good in a way, because every country is now being infiltrated with others, and we don't have to send missionaries. The people are coming to us. Get the idea? And not only that, this is a heathen country. Australia is a heathen country. And many of these dear folk coming in are strong Christians who can do a job for Jesus. Praise God. So you can't go overseas and preach to the Muslims, they'll chop your head off. But you can preach to them here, you see. That's good news. And so, all right. And the last stage in New Zealand after investors was MMP. We brought in a coalition government. Do you have a coalition here? A coalition government means weak government. And in New Zealand we have all sorts of strange things happening. We've got one who's a, what is he? He's a man pretending to be a woman. Georgina is its name. We've got another guy with dreadlocks. Looks like he's been on a farm, you know, he's got all the stuff in his hair. He comes to Parliament on a skateboard. We've got another guy who used his money to buy a new set of underpants, about $85, I think they were. It's just incredible. It's just stupid. Politics has gone nuts. Wherever you have a coalition, you've got a weak government. E.g., Israel, coalition, weak government. E.g., Italy, coalition, weak government. E.g., Australia, coalition, weak government. E.g., New Zealand, coalition, weak government. And that's exactly what they want, a weak government. We can now be controlled from overseas by the guys who have bought the assets, you see. Because once you've sold your assets, you've lost your power. So there we are. Okay, so New Zealand, we'll put on our map again, love, please. Now, when you put up your framework, that's been done in New Zealand in 1987, and every country is following the New Zealand plan. What do you do next, builders? You call in the electrician. And the electrician was called Y2K. A lot of people thought Y2K was a failure. No, it wasn't. Get ready to listen to what it really meant. We learned afterwards what it really meant, not before, unfortunately. Y2K was designed by a woman in 1957 called Grace Hopper. Write down 1957 if you're taking notes, please. Grace Hopper and a team of scientists built a card called the Hollerith card, H-O-L-L-E-R-I-T-H card, which had 80 spaces. In order to save space on the card, because they only had 80 places to put their information, they chopped out all the 19s, you see. 1957 became 57. In the year 1967, 10 years later, the Bureau of Standards, an official American government department, ratified that fact that from now on all computer firms had to use just 2 digits for the date, which was 67 instead of 1967. Everything went well until about the year 1999, but however, anybody who drives a motor car should know that when your speedo gets to 99, you know what comes next. Unless you need help. Most people would know it goes to 000, you see. And all these computer people knew exactly what was going to happen, but the mainframes weren't quite sure when it got to 1900, because you chopped out the 19, the mainframes built in the old days weren't sure whether it was 1900 or 2000. And magazines like The Time and the Newsweek wrote articles called The Day the World Shut Down and all this sort of stuff. And through fear, look at this everybody, that's the key word, through fear, all the nations on earth upgraded their computers and synchronized them. And the American government chose a guy called John Koskinen with 25 task forces at a cost of $640 billion. How much did it cost altogether? $640 billion. And at a cost of $640 billion, even countries like Africa, South America that couldn't afford to do so, upgraded, if you're taking notes, and write down the word synchronized. They upgraded and synchronized their computers, and they say we have now entered an electronic new world order. Now listen to what this man says. Koskinen says, as reported in the newspaper USA Today, I can now run the world with 4 people. Let's say it together. I can now run the world with 4 people. The stage is now set, just the roof on the house to go. And at this moment, you remember last time I was here, 4 years ago I think, I told you, I had a cutting which says the collapse of Japan will bring the new world order. And you will know that Japan has collapsed already. They're right on the edge now. They're almost bankrupt. Their banks are collapsing all over the place, and that's why there are not so many Japanese tourists these days. Did you know America has cut the interest rates 11.5 times already? And the other day, Alan Greenspan of the Federal Reserve says we cannot afford to cut the interest rates anymore. We don't know what to do. America is in a very bad way. Argentina is collapsing. There will be a domino effect worldwide very soon. Big businesses are going down. And even, who is the man today? What's his name? Murdoch. Murdoch's had the biggest collapse of history. It's on today. And he's one of yours. He's an Aussie. He's gone to live overseas. I'm telling you, everybody, the whole money system is going shortly. Now watch this. Years ago I came to this country. I've been coming here for 30 years now, since 1972. Look at this. Someone gave me this one years ago, an empty wallet upside down laughing. You remember this one? And the words all together, welcome to the cashless society. All together, welcome to the cashless society. Some of you say tonight, I'm cashless already. I heard of a pastor who was running a church. He said, you know, dear friends, most people in my congregation will know I've spent my time trying to reach the poor of this parish. Judging by tonight's offering, I have succeeded. They want to bring in a cashless society. That'll be the roof on the house, and then in comes the mark of the beast. Okay? Everybody still alive? Yes. Gets exciting now. You want some excitement? Here we go. Who's heard of a man called David Rockefeller? By the way, do you like my new, this is new stuff, you like my new transparencies? When I went to America and showed them my old ones, they were shocked. They said, you're not using these, are you? I said, yeah. I think the man felt sorry for me. He did all new ones for me. They're nice. This was all done in Indiana. Who's the old man in America who does Save the Children Fund? What's his name? Anybody know? Save the Children Fund. They recorded this message in his studio in Indiana. Well known old guy, just forgot it. Anyway, on with this. Now let's read what David Rockefeller says. We are on the verge, come on, of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. That's David Rockefeller. He is dedicated to world government. Next one, please. Let's read this one, taken from the globalization of world politics. Our world system cannot continue to reproduce itself. A crisis within a particular world system heralds its end and replacement by another system. Now, the crisis that was chosen was the bringing down of the Twin Towers. Because everywhere you go in the world, they say the world will never be the same again. It was very cleverly designed. They worked in